Do truckers feel like they're really making progress? And how is it that entities bigger than one person can have such a profound influence on the direction of one driver? Tonight, a long needed discussion on ELDs, the truth and the reality of the effect of certain aspects of laws on a vital part of the trucking industry on Truckin Frontlines.
The Drive Act is BS. It's pandering.
I think trucking is a very good career.
The best thing you can possibly do is put forth a bill you know has no prayer in heck I've ever seen above. I don't like speed limiters.
Majority of the blame is the companies.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
And remember, folks, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Greetings, truck lovers, truth seekers, and trucking professionals all across the United States of trucking. Welcome to the collaborative think tank for advanced trucking journalism. News, updates, and journalistic insight all in one place. The only thing needed is you. Call our studio line at 860-785-3547 to be part of the show tonight and talk about news that affects you guys and ways to make the trucking industry great again. I'm Boss Man, Chief Executive of Truth in Broadcasting Network, the one and only person with the opinions that count. And I bring to you the United States of Trucking and a one road, one code philosophy on how to make trucking great again. I do this with your help. I am not the only one here. I have a panel list a mile long, and I have people like you willing to call our studio line. Tonight, let's get into these stories and take your calls. If you'd like to talk about a story of your own or have an opinion that you think warrants attention, send it to us. That's truckingnews@outlook.com. That's truckingnews@outlook.com. We certainly welcome your input on stories or comments on stories we've done in the past. If you like it, we need to know about it. Listen up, my friends. This is something I want to highlight to you guys. Something I think you guys need to know about. For weeks now, I've been saying that you guys can get a piece of history. Well, how best to get a piece of history than to get a piece of the United States of Trucking logo on a shirt? There's a friend in the audience named Thomas Barb running an organization that helps truckers. And he's doing this through something called a Driver's Life store. I like his mission, and one of these days he'll have time in his schedule where he can come up here and tell you more about his organization. In the meantime, there's still limited quantities of this shirt featuring the logo, news and all things trucking, just like you see featured here to my right. Go ahead and look up the Driver's Life store, and you can also get a piece of history. Guys, one thing is abundantly clear, that when it comes down to it, we often have to sit back and ask ourselves, are we rolling or are we growing? There's a big difference between one versus the other. And when you think about it, I'll make sure I'm getting the right stuff here. No, wrong one. There we go. When you think about it, there's a big difference between being busy and making real progress. See, a lot of folks out here think that just because they're moving and they're turning wheels and chasing freight and knocking down the hours, they're advancing. They're getting somewhere. But here's the cold, hard truth. Motion don't equal direction. So let me put it to you like this. A hamster is always running in a wheel, but it's not doing anything. It's never getting out of the cage. It's never getting out of the box, as it were. A lot of times we can get caught up in that hamster wheel motion of everyday life. We can do a lot of busy work, but we're never necessarily doing anything productive. So I want to give you a couple of tips that I use to actually gauge whether or not that's actually happening. Number one is always track what counts. Not just what moves, but what counts. Okay? Start looking at your profit per mile, not just the miles you run per day. All right, there's no badge of honor for burning 700 miles if that 700 miles you run has you running in the red. Stop and think. Ask yourself, did that load actually grow my bank account? Did that time I used running that load actually build something? Or did it just fill the clock? You know, time is your most precious commodity. And the last thing you want to do is waste it chasing pennies when you could be building on an empire. Or you could be building on something that later down the road serves you better than what you did today. Use downtime that you have with you at any given point in time to actually decide, are you doing something? Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all wait. Shippers run late, receivers stall, things happen. You sit at docks longer than you have to. But what are you doing with that time? Use the downtime to actually upgrade your uptime. Okay. Here's what winners do. Winners watch a quick video on taxes. They actually look at ways to save themselves money in the future. They review their week and they find out where they've wasted fuel, time, money, things that set them back or no, you know, as you're going forward could help them later on. You know, send yourself a follow-up email on things you want to look at next week. Or maybe take the time to send a broker that you did business with last week that you really want to reconnect with. Send him an email and say, hey, look, just want to follow up. You still think the same way we did last week? What do you think about another run? One small thing, one small action towards growth may not seem like much to you, but it ain't about being flashy. It's about being intentional. The more you do today, the better off your tomorrow will be. Every trucker out there rolling anywhere or just waking up, think about it. Don't let the busy fool you into thinking you're actually getting somewhere. Progress is purpose, but growth is direction. And the rest is just noise. You know, mid-20th century American author known for his seminal work and wrote the supreme philosophy of man was quoted as saying, don't confuse motion with progress. A rocking horse keeps moving, but it doesn't make any progress. This man was Alfred Bonaparte. Let's build smarter, guys. Let's drive better. Above all, let's make trucking great again. Let me ask you, what advice would you give your younger self about staying focused on growth instead of just staying busy? Put something down in the comments. We'll be highlighting them in just a minute. Call into our studio line 860-785-3547 if you have something you think others need to know about growth and progress. You know, certain segments of our industry, they get a bad rap. And tonight I figured I'd take some time to actually highlight a few different angles of that. Moreover, I have some people with me tonight that are going to actually witness the story. And we're going to talk about a couple of headlines and also some good and bad with the story that I'm about to.
We begin with that truck hauling more than 125 cows when it rolled over on I-65 northbound, closing all the lanes, trying to get to Chicago. One dairy cow sadly had to be euthanized while another was killed in the crash. Okay, so what is the status out there and how long could it take to reopen that ramp?
They're working on getting the roadway back open, the truck that rolled over uprighted, that damaged trailer out of there. And as soon as they're able to do that, we'll get traffic flowing again. And our goal is to have this all the way back open by 1 o'clock. I'm not sure how we're looking there right now.
Was the driver cited at all? And is there any reason for the crash? What was the cause? Do you guys know yet?
The driver was cited for speed too fast. We've had several crashes there that involve trucks. They take that curve too fast and they roll over. We've had, this isn't the first animal hauler or cattle truck that's rolled over at that spot. We've had one roll over there, unfortunately, in the past.
Another example of, as an Indiana State Trooper, you never know what your day is going to hold. All right, thanks so much, Sergeant Fifield.
Definitely tragic accident that happened, I want to say about a week ago, according to news reports. Slightly shifting gears, though, to an economic front, the livestock trailer market has shown notable activity. Valued at approximately $1.5 billion in 2023, the market is projected to grow steadily. This growth is driven by an increasing emphasis on animal welfare and stringent transport regulations. Cattle segment in particular has seen significant demand, reflecting on broader trends in beef and dairy consumption. Now, if anyone included in the audience and those I'm about to bring up were asked to rewrite the rules on livestock, what's the first thing you'd change? And based on the story that I just put in, I want you to put in an even deeper question, or maybe an answer to that question. Because tonight we're not just focusing on the story I just told, but we're focusing on what some of these causes will be and could be. And moreover, we're focusing also on the solutions. I'm not just a problem guy, I'm a solution guy, okay? So put in the comments what you think some readable solutions would be. And before you actually start commenting, think about this. We're actually going back and we're looking at some comments. I've talked at great length in previous videos about the effects of ELDs on trucking. Now, I'm one to tell you that when it comes to ELDs, we need to think of things a little bit kind of neutral. We need to be sensible. We need to have common sense. That's what my channel is about. But at the same time, we also need to think fairly about who's actually in control. Okay? Are the regulators running this industry? Or are the people in the industry running the industry? And before we get into all these comments and some that have been left in prior videos, put in the comments, who do you think needs to run the trucking industry? I want to know what you think. If you have an opinion, call our studio line, 860-785-3547. We will put your take on the headlines and let you have your say as well. I'm going to bring one very notable personality up, and we're going to talk first about the first question I asked, and that is, if I asked you to rewrite the rules on livestock hauling, what's the first thing you change? Upper, what you say? Good evening to you and Bo, both of you.
Good
Stellar
evening,
performance,
everyone.
you guys.
It's not. It's oh, of course, Bo wants to get in my face. It is actually really nice and sunny over here. It's really nice out.
Yep.
North Dakota here. Anyways,
Yep. So what's the first thing you change?
you know, it's not so much. There's so much I would change, honestly. It's honestly a hard question. I mean, I got so much stuff going through my head right now. I mean, rules wise, the rules are in place for what they are to help us better as an industry on our part. But what the issue that I see out on the road is there's not enough places for us to stop for the cattle to get off the trailer and rest like they're supposed to, because cows are allowed up to 26 hours in a trailer.
Right.
And the other thing I would change in the industry is proper training. I mean, hold on a sec. Bo is gonna bark. He saw another dog. No, you don't bark.
Would you say the training on the behalf of the cattle hauler, or would you say on behalf of the industry as a whole? Which do you think needs to happen better?
The industry as a whole needs better training. I mean, we've been around and around on this how many times? What do I always say? We
That's
don't
why I
need
asked
trainers. We need mentors.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone that will actually sit down and go through the motions with you until you're comfortable doing it. I wouldn't say really motions, but actually sit down and break down on how to do everything. And if you got a question, they'll pick up the phone and ask.
Yep.
That's the main thing. But I'm going to kind of touch on that story real quick, because I know you want to get other people on here, and I want to throw my opinion out there. Is
sure.
They cited that guy for he went around the corner doing the speed limit. they cited him for speeding because they couldn't find anything else for him to cite him on for. Well, what happened is, 125 people like, oh my God, that's a lot, but it's really not. He had calves on.
Mm-hmm.
Calves, you could fit a lot more in a trailer than you can with full-grown livestock. But
Yep.
what had happened is that whole load shifted. Well, what happens when your load shifts? The
Yeah.
whole truck goes over. I mean,
Yeah.
you're constantly fighting, driving up and down the road. You are constantly fighting cattle moving. So these cattle trucks that are all over the road, it's not the driver tired or anything like that. It's the cows moving.
Well, yeah, it's kind of an unknown element in hauling freight, but the same is true of a tanker.
It
You know,
is.
'cause you're trained as a tanker to realize that there's ballast and there's movement, but it's mainly on taking turns and starting and stopping. Those are your two most dangerous points with a tanker. Mind you, I've never done it, but I can see the similarities, and it's
Yes,
always
it
been
is. Well,
said.
like the best way, like people who've never been in the cattle industry, the best way I describe it is, have you hauled tanker? And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, have you unhauled, like, have you hauled like a milk tanker, an unbaffled tank?
Yep.
And if they say no, I go, then you don't know. I go, literally, you got all that movement sloshing around and everything else. But
True that.
the difference between cattle is you could be going in a straight line,
Yep.
and a cow could see something out of the holes,
Mhm.
and they'll see something, and something might spook them, and the whole load shifts out of the blue.
Yep. And it don't take very much at all.
No,
I
it
want to
doesn't.
take a few moments to recognize some current people in the audience, and we're going to address, stick around, people, because we are going to address some previous comments in some of my previous videos that I think very eloquently apply to this conversation. So definitely stick around, especially if you're watching us on the replay and you have left comments on my video before. You need to stick around and hear what we got to say about this. Amelia, I'm going to butcher the name. Covalier, I'm guessing.
Amanda.
Amanda, okay. Welcome to the show. I butcher names, so I'll be honest with you. Poet in the house. We got Fate Trucking in the house. Speeding's a very big problem in this industry. Yes, it's not just with cattle haulers; it's with everybody. And yes, it does need to be addressed. And yes, we've gone the route on that discussion, which we will not get into tonight. Whole different topic. I know where you're going. Needless to say, you're on the right page, my friend. The turn and cattle shift, she's, I guess, identifying with what you're talking about. Ain't no way cattle can use ELD.
I'm going to fight on that one.
All right. Go ahead, Thumper. I'm going to bring other guests up to
I use an ELD.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Even though I drive a 96 Peterbilt, which is ELD exempt, but I still run ELD rules. Right. I still run a tablet that I run. I don't do the paper log. I have everything on a tablet there. Right. Now, the only difference between with the ELD, with the cattle hauling, and anybody else is we get this thing called agriculture exempt.
Yep.
Which means we get 150 or 3 hours. It just kind of depends on how it lays out on the map. We get those miles for free.
All right.
So, and on the cattle side, you get it on your pickup and delivery. On the hopper side, you only get it on your pickup and your dispatch. That's it.
Yep. I want to bring in another fella joining us via the StreamYard link. We don't have published tonight because this is a pretty full panel as it stands. Gentleman under the name of Last Dollar. Welcome to the show, my friend. Glad you could join us. Give us a moment and introduce yourself, your experience, and anything else you feel is important for us to know.
I'm an owner-operator, owned my own company for 8 years. Been out in the industry for 24 years of experience. Watched the trucking industry change over the last 24 years from where it was to what it is now. I've hauled livestock, I've pulled tanks, I've pulled reefers, I've pulled flatbeds. There's a lot of things that I do.
All right. Seems like we got a little bit of a challenge going on with Amanda's statement earlier. Fate Trucking also saying, why not, Amanda? So
Well, I want to point out a comment. So I got YouTube going on the side too.
Yep.
You got to pull it up. It's from Fake. It's the one right under every trucker has to follow HOS. It's the one under that one.
Okay.
There you go.
For
president.
Okay, but let's stick. Yeah, as funny as it is, let's stick to topic. Okay, so why is what Amanda's talking about such a
the biggest thing I believe she's saying you can't have ELD running livestock is, one, there's no place, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, there's not enough places to offload the cattle for you to take a 10-hour break. If there was, it'd be a lot better. But at the same time, you get guys that want to push in the industry. So, I mean, it's kind of a two-way deal. When I was pulling livestock, I was running an ELD on a tablet.
Right.
It was great. I didn't have this. I had MAP 21 where I could get 3 hours after I got loaded or getting to where I was going. I didn't have it on both ends, which, I mean, is good, which is 3 hours driving or 172 driving miles is where your line is for your 150 air mile radius.
Okay.
It goes either way. You know, yeah, it can help the industry. It can hurt the industry.
Yeah.
You know, but the biggest thing is, you know, what is an ELD? How does an ELD know what them cattle need?
Well, and that's something we're gonna build on during the show. And let's just say I think an ELD is incapable of addressing a lot of issues, and a lot of people have issues with exactly how they're used and what they're used for. So let's bring in some other opinions on this, and let's see what other people have to say. You know, as well as other people in the comments. I'm also getting messages, so bear with me. I'm kind of, you know, I'm bouncing all around the place here. Let me see. I'm going to bring up a couple other people. Let's welcome Larry into the conversation. Larry, good evening to you, sir. You have an opinion one way or the other. What is your thoughts on this?
ELDs are good if you're taught right.
You're taught right. Well, that's important.
A lot of people do not teach people how to use the ELDs for good.
Yep.
When these new drivers get out here, they look at the ELD and they think it's a clock.
Right.
So what do you do when you're facing against the clock? You try to beat it.
Right. Okay.
So
it puts
that's
you
where
under
your accidents come in.
pressure. That's for sure. Yes.
But at the same time, I've also ran paper.
Right.
I've done just as good on paper as I've done on ELD.
Yep.
I still don't break the rules.
Okay. Well, hopefully nobody breaks the rules, because that's a bad idea. So,
rules are
let's
made
bring
to be
another
broken.
guest, somebody who is probably not been seen very much on this show, but I welcome him nonetheless. Gentleman under the name of Hammy. Hammy, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Hammy. Been a long nickname. Been in the trucking industry 18 years. Been around cattle most of my life, living on the family farm.
Hey.
Of course, I've never done long hauls like Thumper and all those guys, but I have hauled cattle, and I'll be hauling. Hopefully, Thumper will get me busy soon.
So you guys have a rather
thumbs up.
Tight friendship, I hear. Not a problem.
Thumper and I live an hour and a half from each other, so.
Any social media that you have or want to push or present, or any messages to the truckers?
I run paper.
That's not what he asked you, Hammy.
What's that?
About social media. Do you run social media or anything you want to promote or messages?
Oh, I agree with all those guys, like Larry, being taught correctly on how to use the ELD and everything, and it's.
I got it.
Hey,
I got it. Don't worry about Don't worry about it.
I can't hear you.
I got it. I mean, if you're having issues with me, that's fine. My audio sometimes acts up, so.
He's asking you if you want to promote your TikTok.
Oh no, I'm good.
I give everybody equal chance. Come on now.
No, we don't. Well, are we doing videos like what we had at Matt's there, Thumper? I mean, we can do that.
I mean,
always somebody in the mix. One way that's got to break up. Got to do something totally unique. Thank you, Hammy. You're one of the same. I like that. Bring up another guy named Walnuts. What a hell of a name that you came up with. Anyway, introduce yourself.
I gotta ask this. Where did walnuts come from? look at his face.
I was towing cars. And
this show was serious up until about 5 seconds ago. Just saying. Keep going.
The boss sent me, I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. The boss sent me up to an area to where the only two Caucasian things around there was me and the lines on the road, and they had faded.
Oh boy.
I loaded the guy's Mercedes, was taking it back to Mercedes dealership. Every window had looky-loos in it. I went back, told the boss, listen, don't send me back up there. I was scared to death the whole time. My given name is Paul. All of a sudden, my boss starts calling me Paulie, or Walnuts. And it's like, okay. And finally, the next day, I asked him, I was like, where did Walnuts come from? He goes, you're Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos. Ain't nobody gonna mess with the Walnuts. and it just stuck.
Well, this show was serious up until you started to join. I'm just saying. I'm stating the obvious. That's all.
Gotta take care of it.
Yeah, Dollar is somebody fighting for him in the thing. Amanda says, correct, for you to safely sleep and the cattle to rest. Okay, so let's set that myth to rest. I mean, Thumper, you have referenced in the past there being a course or some guide that you guys use as a means to dictate how long cattle are allowed to be in your trailer. What is that, for those that don't know anything about cow hauling, what is that, and what does that mean to you guys?
So it's actually starting to come down to the point where there's a lot more places starting to recommend this. It's called BQA. It's Beef Quality Assurance. Mm-hmm. And what that is, you got to sit through literally it takes you a range from 2 to however long. You go through a bunch of slideshows. It sits there. There's a lot of pre-trip stuff on there for, your standard truck driving, but then it goes into depth on how to push the cattle into the trailer, how to load your trailer, like how many cubic foot a cow this X amount of weight weighs or takes up. And there's so many actual useful stuff in that. I mean, you're watching slideshows from the 1920s, but there's so much useful stuff on there. And then you get this card, which, give me 1 sec, I'll pull it out.
Keep talking while you're looking.
But you get this card, and this card certifies you for hauling cattle. So, like with the PQA, I have to have it.
Information on there. It's
I'm gonna cover it up here.
Yep.
Oh, Larry's got it.
Well, you don't want to show your personal info either, Larry. But at least,
it don't have nothing on it.
Yeah, it does. It's got your name and everything, so don't show that. So it's this card. It's got an expiration. I got to take this test every 3 years.
Yep.
And actually, hold on, give me one other sec. Give me one other minute here. I actually have another one right here.
But what is the efficacy of that test designed to do? What is it designed to tell you guys?
It's saying that we are governmentally certified to haul cattle.
Right. I mean, besides the obvious, what does it tell you, though? I mean, for the people in the audience who never dealt with what you deal with, what does that tell you?
I'll let Dollar answer that.
It basically states that you have common sense on how to treat the animal with respect.
Yep.
Is what it boils down to.
Basically, you know enough not to let cattle die between the time they're loaded and offloaded, right?
Exactly.
Or you're not, it also states that you're not abusing the animal.
Yes.
Well, that too. That wasn't kind of part of where I was going to. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set up a place for you guys to argue the case as to whether or not there are conflicts inherent in regulations that exist and or situations that currently dictate what you guys do.
Well,
based on our conversation, what would you offer in terms of that answer?
Honestly, what the real problem is like that course. Larry could vouch for this. Larry had asked me a question, I'd explain something to him, and then finally, after explaining to him about a dozen times, and I'm kind of tired of it, I'll tell him, be like, go back to your BQA. Well, when he first took his BQA, he sat there halfway through it. He stopped, looked at me at the shop, and said, there is a lot of useful knowledge in this. I said, yes, there is. I even go back to it. I've been doing this for years.
Yep.
Like longer than I can remember.
Yep.
And I still go to it and use it as a reference.
Yep.
And what the problem is people take this course and then they forget about it, and then they go treat the interstates. You're this big badass fucking bull hauler, pardon my language. But you're this big badass bull hauler with a nice ass truck, and you could do 700 miles an hour down the road. Well, that's just telling me that you have no care for the animal.
Right. Now, I'm curious to know what Faye is talking about. He just left a comment. That's not an ELD issue. It's no different than us reefer haulers being held up at shippers or receivers. I'm curious as to what part of the comments he was referring to. Because, I mean, in a sense, because I deal with the same freight that he does. I'm also a reefer hauler. I agree with his statement, but I don't know what he was referring to. I don't know what part of the argument that comment was left on. So, by all means, let me know what you were talking about. But, I'm trying to set up basically a stage right now for some comments that have been left in my videos. So let me set that stage for just a minute. It is one of the major reasons why I wanted to have this discussion tonight. Now, I want to address some chatter that I've been hearing, and it's not just whispers. I mean, I'm talking full-on rumblings in the comment section of my videos. People pointing fingers, asking why some haulers have had certain advantages, namely those you see on the screen with me. I mean, they're talking about the FMCSA and the ruling. You're the one talking about the pre-2000, which I opened this video on. And they're talking about that it's the death knell to the industry, as if giving something to the pre-2000s is any different than currently exists. Like it's the difference between whether truckers live or die, okay? But that's just one wrinkle in the segment that I'm already talking about here. Because when you look at the past ELD debates, and when you look at things that have been in the industry prior to this, cattle hauling isn't the worst of it, okay? You've got other issues like undertrained individuals, like we've covered in other segments. And we've got people that don't speak our language. Those are other issues. Safety, regulations, public perception, everything as a whole interferes with everybody's take on what needs to happen with ELDs. Now, we've just had a pretty wide discussion through 5 of us here on a panel, including myself. Everybody's got a different take, including those in the audience, about what ELDs are, what they mean, what they do. Some in the comments even said that they're just nothing more than keeping miles. Griff, I think, is one that said that. Great for keeping miles. So, I mean, obviously, it's not just perception, but it's actual fact. We do need safety. We do need accountability. So ELDs themselves are not the problem. I think it's training, and I think it's more or less the rules around them that are the problem. Comment in the chat. Let me know if you disagree. That is my take. That is what I think is going on here. Go around the panel. You guys tell me. Do you think it's the devices, or do you think it's the rules we're dealing with around them? What do you think, Thumper?
A couple things here. To answer your question, I think it's the rules that we're dealing with. We got people telling us what to do that's never been in a truck before.
Right.
That's the main issue.
Right.
And the other thing I want to bring up, Fate Trucking just posted a comment I thought was pretty funny, and once you see it, I think you'll understand why I think it's funny.
I'll jump around to it, not a problem.
Yep.
Kind of jumping comments anyway, so.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, guys. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yup.
Yeah, cute. I like that. Anyway.
Yeah, Larry knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you guys
But
got
no,
something else
I
to
mean,
offer on what
honestly,
he said earlier.
it's not so much that if we had the appropriate places where we could stop and let the cattle rest and do the stuff that we need to do our job properly, which I know in Oklahoma and Kansas, Walnuts would probably be able to answer this one a little bit more. But there are places that I've seen off of interstate that are corrals to do that. Kansas. Okay, there you go.
Yep. Okay.
But like in North Dakota, Montana, anywhere like that, we have to go to a sale barn, and then we have to pay like $100 a night just to use a pen.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, Dollar, can you speak to this? Overall, when it comes down to it, the amount of places that exist in those northern states where you guys do your business, are there not enough for rest, or do they need to be more?
there's not enough. The mom and pop places have basically gotten turned away, done. They're not doing it anymore. Everybody's out to make a buck. You know, they're not going to give the hay away for free.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
that's basically what you're getting charged for.
Yeah.
Going back to your comment about, you know, a pre-2000 truck, the reason they put that in there because there was a lot of people at that time that had older trucks.
Yep.
So in order to make it fair for them people that had the older trucks, that's what they did. But at the same time, all they're doing now is pushing out them older trucks because they're eliminating the parts for them.
Well, at the same time, a lot of people on some of my videos have pointed out the obvious, and that is, how in the hell can people with the pre-2000 trucks and no mechanical way of being able to be accountable to them use them honestly? Is it an honor system, or is it just more of a I want your money thing? What do you think, Dollar?
Well, okay, if you look at your ELD or your tablet, or if you've used Motivation or Keep On Trucking app that you've used in the that they've had in the past,
right?
Even on your paper logs, underneath your signature, it states right there that you're signing this, that everything that you put in there is to your best ability correct.
You certify.
So basically, as long as you're signing your log saying that it's correct, they're the ones that has to prove that you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go from having, you can, in the cattle industry, you can have one day, Walnuts can verify this, Thumper can verify this, Larry can probably verify it. You have that one day that you don't get a whole lot done, you sit around, lounge around, you're up, you're down, you're all that, and all of a sudden, you get a phone call and you're gone all night.
Yep.
So how do you say what
happened? And you never know when it's going to happen.
And if you really sit down and look at your little green book that tells you all the rules of the FMCSA of trucking and all that, it does state in there when you are off duty, just like Thumper right now. If he's off duty, he's not even supposed to be driving in his own personal vehicle.
Technically.
So technically he is on duty.
That's true of everybody, though. Not to cut you off, Dollar, but I want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. First of all, Don Bacon, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Anybody new to the channel, if you've not taken a chance, do me a favor. Go down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'm building up, man. I'm 880 people strong on this channel. I am real close to a personal goal I set a long time ago of 1,000 subscribers. So help me out every chance you get. Amanda Collier says, I've seen people with ELDs be out of time but are not tired, then stay up and then drive when they are tired. It speaks to another problem that you were just kind of hinting at, but I'm going to go around the table and give everybody a chance. Walnuts, how many times have you actually driven when you're tired? Because that damn ELD said you had to.
Well, I cannot talk to the ELD. I'm still on paper.
Are you?
My job.
Damn, I thought you were legal.
Well, yeah. We drive the same kind of trucks. We pull the same kind of trailers.
I'm
we
picking
pull
on
the
you.
same kind of loads.
Yep.
The only difference is my animals are 110% different than his animals.
Mhm.
So the rules for logs, they don't bother me. But where they load heavy all the time, I don't. I'm
Right.
loaded right now, parked. Everything on my trailer can lay down.
Yep.
So parking does not bother me. There's a lot of times I'll drive, 600-700 miles in a day.
Right.
In that 600 or 700 miles, I've made anywhere from 2 pickups to 2 pickups and 4 deliveries.
Right.
So, yes, I've driven tired, and there's times I'll drive to a chute just so I'm out in the middle of nowhere. My cattle will calm down. My cattle will sleep.
Yep.
Yes, I drove past the time I'm allotted to drive, but I did it for safety. I didn't have to worry about trying to back into a parking spot in a truck stop where I was going to hit somebody.
Yeah, or have somebody hit you. We have a caller on the line, so I want to welcome him into the conversation. Fate Truckin, boom, you're in the house. What say you, my friend?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you all doing tonight?
Great. How about yourself?
Good. I wanted to call real quick about something that, is it Last Dollar?
Yep.
Is that the gentleman's name?
Yep, Last Dollar. Yes, sir.
Okay. A little misconception. Driving your personal vehicle is considered off-duty unless you are under dispatch from your carrier heading somewhere. Just like if you had to get onto a flight and fly somewhere, that's considered on duty.
Good point.
But if you are just
Good point.
personally driving your car to Walmart or McDonald's, that's 100% off duty.
Yep.
That is not an hours of service issue.
Good point, Fate.
If
Good point.
you read the book, it does not say anything about personal time.
President.
Hold on. What were you going to say, Dollar? Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with that statement. But also, if you read it word for word and you talk to a DOT officer about that said problem, they will tell you that doesn't matter because you are a professional driver.
I think I'm going to split the hair. I'm going to split the hair because you know what? The same could be said to, both Dollar and Fate. The same could be said about the whole issue over personal conveyance. What one DOT officer says is right on personal conveyance, someone else will say is wrong. And I think on this issue, we can split it down the middle. What Fate is saying is true. And that is, if you're running on a personal issue and you're just going to eat dinner or whatever, and you're in a personal car or an Uber or whatever, it's, he's right. But what you're saying also can be true in that a DOT officer may see it that way and argue with you about it. So I think we see the dichotomy here. Very good points on both your points. Anything else, Fate?
Oh, I got a lot, but I'll let you guys continue your show.
You can add whatever you like, man. I'm under no time straight.
I got a question for Fate.
I'm just wondering, vote for Thumper for president.
I was just gonna ask that. What's this all about here?
Where can I do that?
Yeah, when did that start? Let us know that one.
I'll keep watching. Good show.
All right, thank you, Fate. Appreciate your call. Anybody else want to get part of the show tonight? Dial our number at 860-785-3547. We are certainly an equal opportunity offender. Caller. Poet says, when I was in the 20s, bull haulers usually can't find offloading stations. Okay, that was back in the 1850s. I don't think that's current.
You read my mind. You read my mind.
Poet, I'm just picking on you, brother.
It is really, to touch up on that. The way stuff is nowadays in the cattle industry, and this is not just the trucking. This is the cattle industry as a whole. You have less ranchers out there.
Mm-hmm.
You have. It's really hard to find spots to offload your cattle unless you go to a sale barn. Then you got to pay whatever and whatnot just to.
Well, a lot of that can also be true of regular trucking too. I mean, because look, you guys are pretty disadvantaged when it comes down to loading and unloading times, just like us reefer guys. I mean, there are places I go and I'm sitting there 7-8 hours waiting on lumpers, which I've got to pay for. And, you know, nobody's getting off easy here. I mean, ELDs really hurt the productivity of anybody, whether it's cattle haulers, reefer guys, even dry vans waiting long periods of time. So, I mean, to that degree, go ahead.
Boss man, it's for you. I mean, I've done the same thing, sitting at reefers waiting for them. Why do I have to pay for somebody to unload my freight so it's no touch? Why did they give us the ELD and not regulate the shippers and receivers?
Good point.
Right there.
Good point. And you know what? I've raised that same very question to a great many people, and no one's ever come up with an answer. And yet, no one's also ever come up with a regulation or even a rule-making consideration to fight that. I agree with the sentiment of your question. I think if we're going to be regulated in what we can drive, I think they need to be regulated in the max time they can keep us.
Well, here's something to maybe answer both of your guys' questions on that.
Okay.
People have gotten too lazy, and they don't want to do it themselves. That's why you got what you got.
Yeah.
Greed.
It's just, it's greed. It's greed, that too. But
greed only in the fact that lumpers, some of them charge for 12 pallets. I've seen this happen. $500.
No matter the
I
weight.
paid $800 for 4.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, there's no real formula that says what they can or cannot do.
The reason they have a lumper service is for the plain and simple fact they didn't want to pay the people. So they hired a company to come in and do that.
Not only
It's
that,
cheaper.
some rules, not only that, but some rules prevent drivers from actually accessing the dock because of sanitary reasons or post-COVID reasons, whatever. These things are out of our control. We have no say-so in this. But yet we're subject to it, and we still have to deal with our 14-hour clock. So...
See, and like another thing, because we're kind of veering off subject here. This was supposed to be about.
No, this is all subject. Trust me, I don't mind any of that.
Yeah, but no, like one thing that really pisses me off, and everybody here that knows me, especially in the panel, they hear me bitch about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What gives us cattle haulers the worst name is these punk ass kids who come into this. Think they gotta have a nice shiny truck and do everything else, and they want to do 100 fucking mile an hour down the goddamn road, get into accidents, everything else, and that makes Walnuts, that makes Hammy, that makes Larry, and that makes Dollar right there look like bad people, and we don't give two shits about the rules when we actually do.
Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts, Sammy? You've been pretty quiet this entire show. What's your thoughts on the alleged super truckers that Thumper just alluded to? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, you're asking me about that? You're asking the wrong guy on that one.
Wait, I got the seatbelt on.
You ain't got the helmet either.
Wait. Nope, no helmet in here.
Yeah.
No, I agree with him. I mean,
They
I
do
drive
say
it
that and image is everything. And I've said that from day one. You know, image is everything when it comes down to it. And we are doing it to ourselves. And I'm not just speaking for you guys in the cattle. I'm speaking for the industry.
It's the whole industry. I mean,
yeah.
Amanda is the best one, for example. She gives us a hard time for wearing hey dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wear hey dudes while I'm driving. I still got my boots on my passenger side.
Yep.
When I get out.
I don't wear hey dudes. I wear Skechers.
What are hey
But
I don't. I got my hey dude sitting on the floor, and I drive in my socks.
So I mean, it's the image. Do I get out and? I mean, I'm getting ready to go to bed after this meeting or after this podcast. So I'm in my sweatpants, sitting in my driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped.
Well, at least you're not in your birthday suit.
But the thing is, you're not
hold on,
on
we
duty.
can fix that.
But the thing is, you're not on duty, and you're not representing your company, sitting there in flip flops, and obvious other distracting items. I'm saying you're actually when you're on duty and you're actually running the truck, you got your work shoes, you got your pants, and you've got a professional image. That's the thing, and that's what a lot of people don't think about. You're representing not only your company, but you're also representing an industry. And I think that's where we get lost. A lot of these.
And another thing that pisses me off, and I hear this a lot. I don't know if Walnuts has or any of the other panelists, but they're like, "Oh, you guys drive nice trucks." Well, you know what? I know a lot of reefer people that drive nice trucks too. We work hard for what we work really hard.
Oh, there's one of them.
We work really hard for what we have. And if we want to spend our own hard money in our trucks to make them look like the way we want to, you have no right until you pay my bills. You have no right telling me how to drive, what to do with my truck, and when to go to sleep and stay awake. I do my job just fine. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yep. Want to welcome my daughter into the show.
I have
Ari.
a follow-up for that.
Hold on one second.
I don't think you could have said that any better. Say it again for the people in the back.
I run the show, guys. Give me a minute. All right. I want to say hello to my daughter, also watching the show. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Amanda also piped up with not all kids are some. Not all our kids, some are 44. I don't know what that means, but looked like an interesting comment. A guy wearing an old ass hat and cut off sleeves telling us how to look. Okay. Speaking of people that should know, Griff is on the line. Good evening and welcome to the show. Glad you called our studio line.
Hey, Griff.
What you got to say about this whole thing?
Well, I can just give an example of what Thumper was going on about people being out there doing 100 miles an hour. This was years ago. I want to say it was probably about 15 years ago when my oldest was.
Give me the short
I was driving
version.
on Highway 54 in the middle of the night down by between probably Meade and Liberal, Kansas, though. But it was on a curve. Luckily, there was a 12-foot shoulder because a bull hauler decided to pass the truck on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And everything, and that kind of woke me up for a while. Stuff and everything. Stuff.
I bet it did.
An example of the way some truck drivers do run in different industries stuff. And I met an old bull hauler last week stuff, and he was going on that he had just done 6,800 miles that week. So I don't know how he was doing it, if he was, but that just sometimes I don't know how many miles. I know Tupper said he runs ELD stuff and everything stuff, and but I don't know. It just anyway. But no, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And Tupper for president. So.
Oh yeah. Seems to be a leading theme going on.
I don't know where this came from.
I
really don't. It just started today. But anyways, Griff, to answer your question, if you know how to run your logbook or your ELD, you can get a lot of miles in. That egg exempt really helps us out. It really does. But that egg exempt ain't there just for us to do whatever we want. It's there to help us to make sure the animals get there, the animals and the feed, whatever farm related, it's there to get there safely. You got to know how to use it correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I understand stuff that when you're carrying 40 to 50,000 pounds of cattle, that's about 30, 40 heads. Depends on the weight, but then they're all packed in like sardines stuff. They can't really move stuff and everything. So you gotta, just like driving a tanker, you gotta go with the flow, go with the roll of the trucks. So that's why you don't want to go too fast around the curve.
Yep.
But anyways,
Walnuts, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah. Okay. The way the ag exempt rules read, like I said, I'm basically a FedEx driver for cows.
Okay.
I pick up
whatever,
and it's always 1, 2,
No.
whatever. Little
You
groups.
you got it. You can't say FedEx.
Okay.
You're the Uber.
Okay,
Uber.
I'm an
Because
Uber.
I mean, look at FedEx now. They're the Swift nowadays. You know, they're the Swift in the old days. So you can't
Hold
say
on.
FedEx.
Thumper, you're ruining the man's flow. Let him
Hold
go.
on.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's more like the hotel bus
Valet.
driver. He
No,
valet
hotel on wheels.
because he has about the same amount of cattle on as he would in that van.
Yeah, he gets a 48 foot, or he has a 48 foot trailer, and he only puts 5 cows in there. So
50. Anyway, okay, I start at 7 o'clock in the morning. I load.
Mhm.
I hit my next range by 9:30.
Right.
I'm still on my ag exempt.
Okay.
I unload. I get to use ag exempt again. I go to the next range, get there by 11. I load. I'm on ag exempt again for another 3 hours. I could
Right.
run my entire day on ag exempt, and it's legal.
In theory,
When
the difference you're talking about is a grand total of 6 hours, right?
well,
Mm-mm.
but I can do that through my whole day.
It's the same way with grain haulers or
It's
hoppers if you're picking up
every
at farmers.
time I pick up or deliver, I extend by 3 hours.
Right.
I do not do it. I use my ag exempt once in a day. That's it. I don't use it at every shoot, and I've had multiple DOT officers when I was asked for my logbook, which has, I don't want to say that because I'll get popped tomorrow, but they have told me they respect that because I'm not trying to overuse the system because of what we do.
Right.
So I just
It's really a joke, but you got to remember which logbook you give to them, right?
Oh, I'm too dumb. I run one. That's it. I can't handle multiple. Now, my pages.
I
do
can't
come
remember
out
which
very
one I lied in last.
Exactly.
There you go.
come on, guys. They're supposed to make us
Grip.
look good, not bad.
Yeah, Grip, I appreciate you calling and antagonizing my cat or my panel. Sorry. Anyway,
I was off duty.
No, good call. Appreciate that.
Like I said, Thumper for president.
Yeah, I hear you.
Make sure we put Fade as vice president.
There you go. I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
All right.
All right,
Oh,
bud.
yeah, also suggestion for a panel sometime. You got a cattle hauler on, and then you're in the reefer business.
Oh, I was going to let you. I was going to let you off easy, Grip. Hang on a minute, man. I was going to let you off easy, but Fate just joined.
What I was just going to say though is if we can get Poet working at a grocery store, you can have the whole industry chain stuff from picking up cattle, delivering them, then fucking you guys take them from where they get delivered to, take them to the store,
Okay.
and you know.
You had me up until you mentioned. You had me up until you mentioned Poet. The only problem with Poet is things will get moldy on the show. Dude can't lose his mind.
All right. You guys have a good evening.
Hey, no. Wait. Rick, you're not going anywhere. Fate's here. He's going to have a minute to pick on you now.
Okay, that's fine. Or, it might be the vice president comment.
It may be. You never know. What's that, Fate?
I want no part of that. I am not a politician. I am a crook, but I'm not a politician.
There you go.
You're the opposite of Nixon.
Yes, right.
Well,
so here we go.
I got caught.
Correct.
Did you want me to keep Griff on?
Yeah, I don't mind. I just wanted to clarify something. People have to understand that it's not like you guys talking about your ag exemptions and stuff like that. You deal with that a lot more than I do, but I run freight as a reefer hauler on ag exemptions. Hauling feed, hauling fertilizers, hauling certain types of chemicals. I am able to run exempt for 150 miles or 3 hours from either the pickup and or deliver. On both ends, I can use the ag exemption.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't use my whole day on ag though. That would never work for what I do.
Say?
We can't do that either.
Well, Griff, I don't know if you're going to want to hang out on the phone. You're welcome to hang up if you want. But what would you say? I think the best advantage of all of this that we're talking about is to you guys. I mean, you're talking about exemption. You're talking about 3 hours, 150 miles, all this stuff. I mean, is this really benefiting you in terms of flexibility and rest, or is just more stuff for people to misunderstand that don't know the industry as well as we do?
Both. like Larry was going on about, there needs to be more education on ELDs, because I don't know everything about the ELDs. Like Faye was going on about ag exemption. I remember talking to a driver a few years ago, and he was going on that the broker was telling him to use ag exemption to go pick up a delivery,
Right.
and everything. And I always just tried to do everything within my 14-hour clock or 11-hour drive times of
Right.
everything, and I've been able to. But I've also been bit in the butt a few times of trying to do it that way, but I don't know the whole.
Well, everybody's
everything, and that is-
everybody's
and,
human.
I don't know, but
Yep.
it's just I don't know everything about it, but it's just the biggest pet peeve of mine is the interpretation of the DOT officer. Because if you read it yourself, you might interpret it one way, but then the DOT officer, because there was an incident up around Topeka where a gentleman was on ELD. He was going from one place to another on the turnpike,
right?
And he got pulled over by a state trooper, and he was told by the state trooper, you cannot do what you're doing, stuff using it like for personal vehicle just because he was bobtail.
Right.
But just let's say he was going to Walmart, the state troopers told him you cannot do that.
Right.
And but in the rules it says you can in a way. You know,
Yeah.
it's just all
Don't wanna-
an interpretation.
Yeah, don't want to cut you off, Griff, but I do have another panelist waiting backstage. I want to bring him in and give him part to contribute to the show. So thank you for calling. I appreciate that. Thank you for your contribution, man. We'll talk to you next time.
You said you had another caller?
We had another contributor backstage. Want to welcome Don Bacon to the show. Don, give us a little introduction. Let us know where you're calling from, what your experience is, and what you would like to add to the show.
Well, let me start off with good evening, gentlemen, and I use that term loosely. Okay.
Evening to you, sir.
This makes 30 years for me, legal. 30 years.
God bless. Thank you for your service.
And I've done everything but haul gasoline.
Yeah, I wouldn't go boom either. So,
well,
what
don't
say
pay
you on?
enough.
What say you on the whole issue?
The as far as the exemptions go for the ELD for livestock, and well, we'll do the ag exempt stuff.
Sure.
I don't think 150 air miles is enough.
And why do you say that?
I personally believe because I've done hopper, and I did livestock, but that was 20. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I'd honestly like to see it around 250.
Would you say there's a possibility that a lot's changed in the 20-year time frame that you're talking about?
Well, it's changed so much where I refuse to run the road anymore.
Right, but your position a minute ago was that you think it should be more than it is.
Well, the thing is with all the traffic delays and
okay,
all
I see.
You know,
okay.
And I know what it's like to try and get cattle to where they got to be. I mean, running from Ohio to Boston.
Yeah,
that's what I did, and let me tell you, it wasn't fun. You know,
never is for anybody.
But it just 150 air miles is not enough. If you're going to have an ag exemption, and I see Thumper's got his hand up, but if you're going to have an ag exemption, make it worth it. You know, granted, you've got 150 at each end, which gives you 3. You know what? Like I said, 250 each end. You know, that would make things a whole lot easier.
Okay. All right. Appreciate your opinion, and stick around. We'll see what everybody thinks. What say you, Thumper?
Actually, no, I got a question for Don.
Sure.
What?
I'm not Don, I've known you for quite some time.
Right.
And I'm not trying to bash you or anything when I'm asking these questions, but boss man, just shut up. But boss man knows the type of person I am. I'm a realist. I look outside the box on stuff. But anyways, my question is, okay, so you want 250 miles, which I'm all for. Don't get me wrong, but we already have people abusing the exemption already. But when you get tired, so you get 250 miles on top of your 11-hour clock. Well, what's going to happen when somebody's tired? They're like, oh, I got all these free miles. I'm going to keep pushing.
Well, see, that's where we go back to old school. When you're tired, you don't keep pushing.
You stop.
I realize that this new breed, and when I say new breed, I don't mean to offend anyone, but if you've been driving less than 15 years, to me, you're new breed.
Oh, man.
I'm so triggered. I can't tell you. I'm just so triggered.
most of these guys, I'm not saying all, but most, all right, they don't know when to quit. They want to push through the weather. You know, they spend 5 hours in traffic in Chicago, and oh hell, I'm going to drive another 8. You know, even though they're dragging ass.
Right.
It's the new guys weren't raised like myself and others, because I you know, the old man bought his first truck. I was 4.
Right.
I know what it's like to push.
Hammy, what do you got to say on this? I know you were.
He knows when to quit. He knows when to quit.
You don't have to be on camera. Just give me an idea what you want to talk about.
I would take 250 miles each way. I mean, we could put on. I could lock some miles.
Grumpy, leave the forming to me. Keep going, Hammy.
It would be. I've gone to this because I'm exempt when I do my hopper. I've gone many of hours, and where my boss finally called and said it's time to shut it down. And I said I wasn't tired yet, but I did. And I can only imagine what the new people would do with it. With 250, 150 is plenty. Because that's almost the whole state of North Dakota on ag exempt.
Well, that kind of runs to the question I asked earlier of Dollar about whether we had enough spots or we needed more. I mean, you know, Don makes a good point that, you know, maybe more time, but would what he said be solved by putting more spots? I mean, it's kind of a
catch-22.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm short for words for James.
I would like to say something here for a second. I want to go back to the outfits of what you wear driving a truck. My dad has drove truck for 52 years, 53 years. That man has wore polyester jeans and a button-up shirt every day at work for the last 53 years.
Yeah.
So when did it change to sweatpants were cool? That's the question I have. When did it change?
Okay, hold up, Dollar. Now, you guys are going to start making fun of me because I'm this... Everybody pictures me as this big, badass bull hauler. But I'm not.
You're a skinny shrimp.
Shut up, Dollar.
we know you're not big, badass.
But after I load, yes, I'm covered in cow shit from head to toe. So then what I do is I crawl, before I leave, I generally pull off to the side from the chute, and I sit there for like half hour, 30 minutes, let the cows, you know, or half hour to an hour, let the cows settle down and whatnot. But I crawl in the sleeper, and I put sweatpants on, I wear a sweatshirt, and I got my tennis shoes on. I drive to what I'm comfortable. When I get to where I'm going, it's blue jeans, my boots, and generally a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or my jacket, depending on the time of the year.
That's right. You do it in between, but I'm talking about walking across the truck stop or walking into your customer to deliver.
Now, the customer, I disagree, but going into a truck stop because you put fuel in real quicker or you're shut down for the night, I mean, you wear what you're comfortable with.
But at the same time, it's also your image of what you're showing.
I mean, Of course, you're talking to a guy that goes into Walmart in the middle of the night wearing cowboy boots, shorts, and a cutoff. So,
But when you go into Walmart at night, are you representing your company or are you off duty?
I don't. Well, generally, I'm off duty, but.
All right. I mean,
But no,
if you're going to
and
go into a
yes,
shipper,
when you're
but if
representing.
you're going to go into a shipper with your pajama bottoms and your flip flops.
Oh no, you'll never catch me doing that. No, if I'm trying to be professional, I do. I'll wear my blue jeans. You know, granted, my line of work, I'm covered in cow shit from head to toe. But I'm still wearing blue jeans, a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, my awesome Thumper and Bull hat here, and you know, I wear a baseball hat and boots, you know, my ship boots or tennis shoes or whatever when I'm going in to go do whatever I need to do. I try to be as professional as I can. But no, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Dollar. What I'm fighting against is you want to drive to be, when you're driving, you want to be comfortable. And Faith's been raising his hand for quite some time.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, by all means. I'd put him in the hot box, but somebody's messing with my formats. I don't have control, so go ahead, Faith.
I lost my first train of thought, but my second, talking about, you know what it was? You know what's good about this?
What's that?
Is I'm glad I'm considered an old timer and not a newbie. That's number one. Because I got 26 years now.
We've been in it. We've been in it over 25 years, to quote somebody else that used to be on the panel.
Right, I know it all. But here's what I like is, and this is where I hope somebody really sees this. It doesn't matter what type of trucking you're in. We all are facing the same issue. It might be a different saying, a spot to unload cattle versus a spot to find for a reefer hauler like me that leaves a shipper at 2 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, nowhere to park except a shoulder of a highway or an
a
interstate,
rampway or whatever. Yeah.
Which is very dangerous, and do not do that.
Exactly.
We're all facing the same problems when it comes to our image. The biggest change I've seen in trucking in my 26 years, your employer back in the day used to not micromanage you. They let you be an adult. They allowed you to make decisions. You had to know how to run your trailer, no matter what type of trailer it was. You needed to know how to band down a flatbed. You needed to know how to run your reefer. They've taken that out of trucking. Reefers now are controlled by somebody sitting at a desk at most of your mega carriers. The drivers these days don't have a sense of it, like appreciation for what they're doing, because they're being told where to stop to get fuel, how much fuel to pump at that stop.
So much is being done.
Micromanaged.
So much is being done for them. Don't go anywhere, Faith, because I'm going to lead into our closing question tonight, which is a very good one. If you were writing FMCSA rules, and I've got this question formatted for mostly the livestock, but I'm going to forward this to everybody watching. Put in the comments what you think the answer to this question is. And to you, Faith, specifically, if you were writing FMCSA regulation for the trucking industry, what is one change you'd make right now?
That I would
make? If you had the power to change something, what would that be?
Everybody with a U.S. CDL needs to read, write, and speak the language of English. That would be number one.
Okay.
Hold up. That rule.
Hold on. I'm going to get to everybody. I'm going to give everybody an ample chance to state their opinions.
Hold on. I'm going to, real quick, Thumper's going to say that rule already exists. You have to understand the FMCSA does not issue CDL licenses. The states issue CDL licenses.
We'll get to that in just a minute.
So the states can make up their own rules.
Okay, but I want to get to everybody in the panel. I want to give everybody equal chance, and I want to give everybody equal chance to say something. So, Grumpy, you've been listening for a while. You've had little to say about the whole topic, but I want to give you a chance to answer the same question I just asked Faith. If you were writing rules on FMCSA and you had the chance to make a change to some one thing in there, what's the one thing you change right now if you had a chance?
One thing I'd change right now, if I'd have a chance to change something, get somebody in there that has been raised in the trucking industry. They don't have to be one that drove it. They just need to be raised in it and know what goes on out here.
At
Because
least have
otherwise
enough
they're going to
familiarity
stick
with the industry.
keyboard
What you're
jockeys in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone that keeps getting in there has no idea what goes on out here.
Exactly. Exactly. Hammy, what say you? If you had the opportunity, and this is specifically the question designed for tonight's show, if you were writing FMCSA rules and had the opportunity in the next livestock meeting to make a change to regulations regarding your industry or your sector or the industry at large, what is one change you'd make right now?
Hours of service.
What in the hell is
And
going on?
to what degree?
14-hour workday. You should be able to at least drive 14 hours if you ain't stuck at a shipper.
Okay. All right.
I actually give more hours, and I'd get rid of the ELD. To be honest with you, that's 2 laws.
I hear you. What about you, Dollar? What would you say?
Oh, come back to me. I'm still thinking.
It's still thinking. All right, Don. What about you?
16-hour workday.
Oh, so you and Hammy are kind of side by side on that one. What about you, Thumper?
I'll go last.
I kind of figured as much. I thought I'd ask you anyway because I'm going around the table. What about you, Wallace?
My biggest thing is the hours of service. What hours, there needs to be more flexibility just for the different facets. You can't run a reaper like you run a cow truck, like you run a tanker, like you run a flatbed. They want everything set into a cookie cutter. There's no give on anything.
No.
But there again, go back to me and Thumper. We pull the same trailers, the whole 9 yards, but we do 2 completely different jobs.
Yep.
So what works for him may not work for me. That's the big thing. They got to quit thinking they can shove us all into one box and it'll all work. It won't work.
Can't. I think that's a pretty universal message we're seeing. Larry, what about you? If you had the opportunity to change one thing, what would it be?
Raise the age to 25 to get your CDL.
So you think the younger kids are the ones ruining it? You don't kind of agree with what Hammy said earlier, and it's.
I'm gonna rebuttal that there, Larry. There's a kid on TikTok that got a CDL, but he couldn't leave the state of Missouri until he was 21. He drove all over hell in Missouri. He from 18 to 21. Grumpy knows who I'm talking about. And I if that's the case, I would put interstate at 25.
Yeah, I don't think age is much is a problem, but I think experience and the ability to soak in common sense is a big thing, and I think that's one thing we're lacking. But that's not going to be my opinion on this. I've got a separate answer. So, Larry, did you want to finish your point?
No, I did.
Okay, all right. Lastly,
one question for Larry.
Go ahead.
How did you might want to enlighten everybody about your battle scars, because I'm sure there's audience that are wondering.
There's nobody wondering anything.
I am.
I got trampled by a cow today.
And there's a problem with that?
Apparently, you can't outrun a cow when they're coming out of the trailer.
Well, I've told you that how many times, but no, the reason why I brought that up is actually, you know what? No, I'll wait. Let Dollar go, and then I'll go into my whole spiel because I know where Boss Man's going right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So, Dollar, let's ask you what do you say if you had the opportunity to change one thing right now? What would that be?
I'd change the whole entire industry, starting with shippers, receivers, to the trucking, to making the knowledge power, making common sense your strong suit. to, I agree with Larry. Raise it to 25. I believe you can run in the state from 18 to 25. You have experience. You have played in that weather. You have done things that way.
Right.
Because I think the mega companies, the bigger corporations, don't want you to know anything, and they want you to be taught their way, and they want to push you. So I believe that if you overhaul the industry completely, I think you get a better run from everything.
Very true. Very good possibility. Anyway, Thumper, I'm going to give you the last chance because I'm about to do something even you don't expect. So what say you?
Well, that's a shocker, something I don't expect. I should know
Yeah,
you
think
by
you know
now.
me so well. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I surprise everybody. So what say you? If you had the chance to change one thing, what would that one thing be?
The chance to change one thing, I've said it numerous times. We need mentors. We need mentors, and we need people to start realizing what we go through in this industry. The mental health state, everything that puts the stress on us and everything else that we go through, people need to start realizing that. And another thing too is the reason why I brought up Larry getting run over by a cow. Our jobs aren't easy. We don't sit just behind a wheel. We're dealing with 500 plus pound animals every day. You think you got, like I said, I say kids because they haven't grown up in their minds. They got those people in our industry that are making us cattle haulers, us egg exempt, whatever you want to call us. They make us look like complete dog ass when we're trying to do our job properly. I brought a lot of these guys onto this panel to prove that point to them, to you guys, that we're out here doing our job just like everybody else. And nothing's going to change that. I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to be there for everybody.
Right.
And I love coming on these shows. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast, and hopefully we can have more to come. And like I always say, God bless everybody in the United States. God bless EMTs, firefighters, military personnel. And we don't do it just for us. We do it for you guys.
Every day. Every day when possible, we do everything we can to make trucking great again. It's just as simple as that, guys. Every day we do what we do to make trucking what it ought to be. We are here telling you what it's all about. Till next time, guys, remember, it's the trucks that make the deliveries, but it's you that make the difference. Look for us next week. Same time, same channel, different topic. Till then, keep it real, keep the faith, and keep it rolling.